Beneath the glow of the moon, lunar whisper tales invites you into a world of wonder, stories to calm the night, and whispers that stay in your heart. Listen and let the moon speak to you.
Chapter 1. The Manuscript in the Shadows. The candle flickered as Elias Moreau traced his fingers over the brittle pages, the scent of old parchment filling his nostrils. The library of St. Mark's Abbey was nearly empty, save for the faint echo of footsteps in the distant corridors. He had arrived at dusk when the winter sun dipped behind the jagged rooftops of the city, casting long shadows across the labyrinthine streets outside. Elias had always been drawn to the forgotten corners of history, where dust and secrecy intertwined, and tonight he had stumbled upon something extraordinary. A manuscript bound in faded crimson leather, its cover engraved with symbols that whispered of a language long lost. The handwriting inside was meticulous, precise, almost ritualistic. He felt a shiver run down his spine. Whoever had written this had known secrets meant to be hidden. He turned the page slowly, careful not to tear the fragile parchment. A sequence of strange diagrams and cryptic symbols sprawled across the page, forming a puzzle that seemed alive, almost mocking him. His pulse quickened. He had seen codes before, of course, but nothing like this. This wasn't just a historical record, it was a map, or perhaps a warning. A sudden creak echoed through the library and Elias froze. The shadows seemed to shift, and the faint outline of a figure appeared near the entrance. He wasn't alone. Who's there? He called, trying to keep his voice steady. No reply, just the soft rustle of fabric and the faint, deliberate tapping of footsteps. His heart thudded in his chest. He slid the manuscript into his satchel and rose, keeping his candle low to avoid drawing attention. The figure stepped forward into the dim light, revealing only a flash of a hooded cloak. Elias could feel the weight of their gaze, intense and unyielding. "You shouldn't be here," a voice whispered, low and edged with warning. "I could say the same to you," Elias replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "Who are you?" The figure didn't answer. Instead, they vanished into the shadows of the library's vast halls. Elias exhaled slowly, a chill settling over him. Whoever, or whatever, had been watching, it was clear they were interested in the manuscript. He knew he couldn't stay here any longer. The streets outside were quiet, but the city held secrets as deep and treacherous as the Abbey's ancient foundations. With careful steps, he navigated the maze of shelves, pushing open the heavy oak door to the alley beyond. The air was crisp, carrying the distant sound of church bells marking the hour. As he disappeared into the labyrinthine streets, Elias's mind raced. The manuscript held a secret that could change the course of history, or cost him his life. He had no choice now but to follow where it led, even if it meant walking straight into danger. And somewhere in the shadows, someone, or something, was already waiting. Chapter 2. The Stranger in the Courtyard. The streets of the city were slick with rain as Elias Moreau hurried through narrow alleys, the manuscript snug in his satchel. Every shadow seemed to flicker with movement, and each echo of footsteps made him flinch. The candlelight from the abbey had long faded behind him, leaving only the soft glow of lanterns and the mist that rose from cobblestones. Elias tried to calm his racing thoughts. The manuscript's symbols and diagrams haunted him with every step. He knew the path ahead would not be easy. Whoever had been watching him at St. Mark's Abbey would not give up so easily. He ducked into a small courtyard, hoping to find a moment of solitude to study the pages. The courtyard was enclosed by the crumbling walls of forgotten houses, their windows darkened by grime and time. A fountain stood at the center, its water stagnant and green, reflecting the dim light of a single lamp-post. Elias set down his satchel, carefully removing the manuscript to examine it once more. But before he could turn the first page, a sharp voice called from the shadows. "You should not be here alone." Elias spun around, heart thudding, and saw a figure step into the lamplight. She was young, perhaps in her early 20s, with eyes that seemed to see through him. Her dark cloak concealed her features, yet there was an unmistakable air of confidence and alertness. "I could ask the same of you," Elias said cautiously, closing the manuscript. "Who are you?" The stranger studied him for a long moment, then stepped closer, her boots silent against the wet cobblestones. "I know what you carry," she said, "and it is more dangerous than you imagine." Elias's mind raced. He had expected threats from the Shadowed Order, perhaps agents of some secret society, but he had not expected her. "You know about the manuscript?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yes," she said simply, "and if it falls into the wrong hands, many will die." Elias hesitated. "Then why should I trust you?" Her eyes narrowed and she smiled faintly, almost amused. "Because you have no choice. You cannot face what is coming alone." She stepped closer and extended a hand. "I am Isabella von Falcon, and you are Elias Moreau." Elias was startled. How did she know his name? And more importantly, how did she know him at all? "Your reputation precedes you," she said as though reading his thoughts. "I've heard whispers of the young historian who dares to uncover the past. The manuscript you carry, it is not a simple relic. It is a key, and there are those who would kill for it." Elias's mind reeled. The air seemed thicker now, charged with urgency. He closed the manuscript and tucked it back into his satchel. "Then I suppose we are allies," he said, though the word felt foreign in his mouth. Isabella inclined her head. "For now." A sudden noise shattered the tense quiet of the courtyard, a scraping sound as if metal had been dragged across stone. Both of them froze. From the shadows emerged a tall figure in a hooded cloak, moving with unnerving precision. Elias recognized the figure immediately, one of those who had been watching him at St. Mark's Abbey. "They've found us," Isabella said softly. "We must move." Without waiting for a reply, she grabbed Elias's arm and pulled him toward a narrow passage at the edge of the courtyard. The passage was barely wide enough for them to pass, the walls slick with moisture and lined with moss. Elias stumbled, but Isabella's grip was firm, unyielding. As they ran, he glanced back. The cloaked figure paused at the entrance of the courtyard, then vanished into the shadows as though it had melted into the night. But Elias knew it was only a temporary reprieve. The Shadowed Order would not abandon their pursuit so easily. The passage opened onto another street, one even narrower and darker than the last. Isabella led him through a series of twists and turns until they reached a small nondescript door embedded in the side of an old building. She produced a key from beneath her cloak and unlocked it with a quiet click. Inside was a room lit by a single lantern, its walls lined with shelves of books, maps, and various artifacts. Elias's eyes widened. "This is remarkable." "It is our refuge," Isabella said. "For now. But it will not remain safe forever. We must understand the manuscript, and fast." Elias pulled it out again, laying it on a large wooden table. The cryptic symbols seemed even more urgent now, as if they were alive, pressing him to decipher them. Isabella leaned over, her eyes scanning the pages with surprising familiarity. "You've studied texts like this before?" Elias asked, genuinely impressed. "More than you realize," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I've been tracking the Shadowed Order for years. They guard secrets older than any city, secrets that some would kill to keep hidden. This manuscript, it is a piece of that puzzle." Elias studied her, noting the precision in her movements and the confidence in her tone. There was more to Isabella von Falcon than met the eye, a depth of experience that both reassured and unnerved him. They worked together through the night, deciphering one symbol after another, slowly uncovering the layers of the manuscript's mystery. Each solution revealed another riddle, another piece of a puzzle that stretched far beyond the city. By the time the first light of dawn crept through the small window, Elias and Isabella had uncovered a series of coordinates, locations scattered across the city and perhaps beyond. And with that revelation came a sobering truth. The Shadowed Order would stop at nothing to reach these places first. Isabella looked at Elias, her expression grim. "This is only the beginning. If we hope to survive, we must move quickly and carefully. The Order knows we exist now. They will come for us." Elias nodded, a mixture of fear and determination tightening his chest. "Then we begin," he said, steeling himself. Outside, the city stirred with the sound of early morning life, oblivious to the danger that lurked in its shadows. But Elias knew the peace would not last. Somewhere, unseen and patient, the shadowed order was already planning its next move, and so, together, they stepped out of the refuge, ready to face the mysteries and perils that awaited them. Chapter 3. Shadows on the Bridge. The dawn mist hung heavy over the city as Elias and Isabella made their way through the winding streets. Lanterns flickered weakly against the pale morning light, and the air was thick with the scent of damp stone and wood smoke. Every echo of their footsteps seemed amplified in the quiet streets, as if the city itself were holding its breath. Elias clutched the manuscript tightly under his cloak. The symbols they had deciphered the night before had led to a series of locations scattered across the city: hidden courtyards, abandoned warehouses, and forgotten catacombs. Each step carried the promise of discovery and the weight of danger. Isabella led the way with a calm certainty, her eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. "We are not alone," she murmured, her voice low and steady. "They are watching." Elias's stomach tightened. The shadowed order had made their presence known last night, and he knew it was only a matter of time before another confrontation. "How do you know?" he asked. "Experience," she replied, not looking back. They moved like shadows, slipping through alleys, listening from windows, leaving no trace. But they are clever, not infallible. They turned a corner onto a narrow street lined with crumbling tenement buildings. At the far end, a faint figure darted into an archway. Elias's heart leapt. "There! One of them!" Isabella didn't hesitate. "We follow, but carefully." The archway opened into a courtyard, empty except for a toppled fountain and ivy-clad walls. Elias stepped lightly, trying to make as little noise as possible. Isabella's gaze swept the area. "The manuscript indicates something hidden here," she said, kneeling to examine a section of the cobblestones. The symbols they had deciphered pointed to a pattern carved into the stones, faint lines forming a grid, nearly invisible in the dim light. Elias leaned over, tracing the lines with his fingers. "It's a map," he whispered. "A map of the underground tunnels beneath the city." Isabella nodded. "And one of these tunnels leads to the next clue. But we must be careful. The Order has eyes everywhere." Elias's pulse quickened. The thought of navigating hidden passages beneath the city was thrilling and terrifying. He had studied history, read about secret tunnels, but he had never walked them himself. Now, the symbols in the manuscript were guiding him into the unknown. They moved quickly, lifting loose stones and revealing a narrow entrance beneath the fountain. The air that escaped smelled of earth and decay. Isabella lit a small lantern, and they descended into the darkness. The tunnel was narrow, forcing them to walk single file. Water dripped from the ceiling, forming puddles on the uneven stone floor. Elias's footsteps echoed softly, blending with the distant sound of flowing water. Every shadow seemed alive, every turn hiding unseen threats. "This way," Isabella whispered, pointing to a fork in the passage. The manuscript had indicated a sequence of symbols, triangles, circles, and lines that marked the correct path. Elias followed her lead, feeling both exhilarated and anxious. As they moved deeper, the tunnel widened into a larger chamber, its walls lined with ancient inscriptions. Elias's eyes widened in awe. "These are centuries old," he murmured. "Whoever built this, they left a message for those who could read it." Isabella studied the inscriptions carefully, her fingers tracing the carved symbols. "It's a puzzle," she said, "one that reveals the location of the next clue, but only if we solve it correctly." They worked together, deciphering the inscriptions and comparing them to the manuscript. Hours seemed to pass, though Elias could not tell in the darkness. Each solution revealed another clue, another fragment of the puzzle, and yet a constant unease gnawed at him. They were not alone. A sudden noise shattered the silence. Footsteps, soft but deliberate, echoed from the far end of the chamber. Isabella froze. "The order," she whispered. Elias's heart pounded. "We're trapped." "Not yet," Isabella said, grabbing his arm. She led him through a narrow side passage, the walls slick with moisture. The footsteps grew louder, echoing through the tunnels, close enough to feel the presence of the pursuers. They emerged into a series of narrow, twisting passages beneath the city, their lantern casting long, dancing shadows. Elias struggled to keep up, his breath coming in quick gasps. Each turn seemed to twist the tunnel into an endless labyrinth. Ahead, a faint light glimmered, a small opening leading up to an old stone bridge spanning the river that ran through the heart of the city. Isabella glanced back. "We must reach the bridge. From there, we can lose them in the streets above." Elias followed, adrenaline driving his legs. The bridge loomed above them, silent and shrouded in mist. They climbed the final steps, emerging into the cold morning air. The river below roiled with mist and shadow, and the city's skyline stretched out before them, the spires and towers catching the first rays of sunlight. But safety was an illusion. From the opposite end of the bridge, cloaked figures emerged, moving with deadly purpose. Elias realized the Shadowed Order had anticipated their escape route. "They've cut us off," he said, fear gripping his chest. Isabella's eyes narrowed. "Then we make our stand, and we do not falter." The first figure lunged, a dagger glinting in the dim light. Isabella moved with fluid precision, deflecting the attack and countering with a swift strike that sent the assailant sprawling. Elias, trembling, raised a small iron rod he had found in the tunnels, ready to defend himself. The bridge became a battlefield, each step echoing the clash of steel. Elias moved instinctively, guided by Isabella's calm commands. Together, they fought, their movements a blend of desperation and skill. As the fight raged, Elias noticed something in the manuscript, a sequence of symbols matching the carvings in the tunnels. He realized that the solution to the puzzle was not only knowledge but action. The path to survival required them to move with both intellect and courage. He shouted to Isabella, pointing to the far end of the bridge. She nodded, understanding immediately. They ran, dodging attacks, leaping over obstacles and using the chaos to their advantage. At the last moment, Isabella grabbed Elias's hand, pulling him into an alleyway that led away from the bridge. Breathless, they pressed against the wall, listening. The sounds of pursuit faded into the distance, though Elias knew it was only temporary. "That was too close," he whispered, his body trembling. Isabella shook her head. "It was exactly as it had to be. The Order tests their prey, and we have passed the first trial. But there will be more, and deadlier." Elias looked at her, the adrenaline slowly leaving his system. Despite the fear and exhaustion, he felt a spark of exhilaration. The manuscript's secrets were real, and they were on the path to uncovering them. Yet, the Shadowed Order's relentless pursuit made it clear that knowledge came with a price, and survival was never guaranteed. They moved through the winding streets, the city awakening around them, oblivious to the danger lurking in its shadows. Each alley, each bridge, each forgotten passage held both peril and possibility, and Elias understood that their journey had only just begun. The manuscript pulsed with secrets waiting to be revealed, and the city, ancient and mysterious, was both their map and their maze. Somewhere ahead, another clue waited, another test, and the Shadowed Order would be there to meet them. And Elias knew that the only way forward was through courage, wit, and the unbreakable bond forming between him and the mysterious Isabella von Falken. Chapter 4. Beneath the Stone. The air grew colder as Elias and Isabella descended the narrow stone steps leading to the city's hidden catacombs. Every footfall echoed, bouncing off the damp walls, creating a disorienting rhythm that made the passages seem longer than they were. Elias shivered, not just from the chill but from the thrill of discovery. He had never imagined history could feel so alive, or so dangerous. "This way," Isabella whispered, her hand pressed lightly against the rough wall, guiding him through a series of twisting corridors. The manuscript indicates a chamber beneath the old city hall. The Order may anticipate our moves, but they cannot know everything. Elias glanced at the manuscript, which now glowed faintly in the lantern light as if urging him onward. Symbols, lines, and diagrams crawled across the pages like a living map. Each marking revealed the next step, but it also carried a warning. One wrong move could be fatal. They reached a vast chamber with a vaulted ceiling supported by carved stone pillars. Shadows danced across the walls, thrown by their lanterns. Elias took a step forward, marveling at the inscriptions etched into the walls. Ancient figures of men and beasts, cryptic symbols that seemed almost alive in the flickering light. "This is incredible," he murmured. "These inscriptions, they're centuries old." "They are also a warning," Isabella replied, her eyes scanning every detail. "The Order knows these passages, but they have traps we cannot yet predict. We move carefully." Elias nodded, feeling the tension tighten in his chest. As they advanced, a soft click echoed through the chamber. Before he could react, a section of the floor shifted beneath his weight. With a jolt, he realized they had triggered a mechanism. "Step back," Isabella shouted, pulling him out of the way as a set of spikes shot up from the floor where he had been standing moments before. The metal clanged against stone with a terrifying sound. "Traps!" Elias gasped, his pulse racing. "They really thought of everything." "They always do," Isabella said grimly. "The catacombs were designed to protect secrets, and the Order has learned them well." They moved cautiously, using the manuscript as their guide. Symbols etched into the pillars indicated which stones were safe to step on, which led to danger. Elias's knowledge of history and Isabella's instinct for traps complemented each other perfectly. They navigated the chamber slowly, every movement deliberate, every breath measured. At last, they reached a doorway carved into the far wall. Ancient runes glowed faintly around the frame, resonating with the manuscript's symbols. Isabella pressed her hand against the carvings, muttering words in a language Elias did not recognize. With a soft click, the door opened, revealing a narrow passage descending even deeper into darkness. They entered, lantern held high, the air growing colder and damp. Water dripped from the ceiling, forming puddles on the uneven stone floor. The passage wound downward, twisting like a serpent, until they reached another chamber. This one was smaller, circular, and dominated by a massive stone pedestal at its center. On it lay a small, intricately carved box, locked and covered in strange markings. Elias's eyes widened. This must be it. The next clue. "Perhaps," Isabella said cautiously, "but do not be hasty. The manuscript warns of guardians, mechanical or otherwise. Touching it without solving the puzzle could trigger another trap." Elias approached the pedestal slowly, studying the carvings. Symbols from the manuscript matched those on the box, triangles, circles, lines forming a complex sequence. His hands trembled as he traced them. The logic was maddeningly intricate yet familiar, a combination of geometry and history, ancient knowledge encoded into a puzzle. "This is a test," Isabella murmured, "not just of intellect but of patience. One mistake and we could die." Elias took a deep breath, focusing on the symbols. He began manipulating the carvings on the box, aligning shapes with the manuscript's instructions. Each click of the stone pieces echoed through the chamber. Isabella watched, her eyes sharp, ready to pull him back if something went wrong. Suddenly, a sharp click resounded and the box vibrated. The floor beneath them shifted, and a hidden compartment opened in the pedestal, revealing an ancient key. Elias's heart raced as he picked it up. "We have it," he whispered. "The key to the next location." "Good," Isabella said, though her expression was serious. "But we cannot linger. The Order may have traced our path. They know we are here." Before they could leave, a low rumble echoed through the catacombs. Dust fell from the ceiling, and Elias realized too late that the mechanism they had triggered earlier was part of a larger system. The walls began to shift, narrowing the passage behind them. "We need to move, now!" Isabella shouted, grabbing his arm. They ran down the winding passage, the walls closing in slowly behind them. Elias's lungs burned as they turned a corner, narrowly avoiding a collapsing section of stone. They emerged into another chamber, larger and darker, with multiple passages leading in different directions. Lantern light revealed faint footprints in the dust. Someone had been here recently. Isabella studied the manuscript and the markings on the walls. "The next clue is through the western passage. But we must proceed carefully. The order is close." Elias's stomach twisted. They were deeper than ever, trapped in the city's hidden veins, with enemies potentially watching every move. He felt both exhilaration and terror. The catacombs were alive, a maze of history and danger. As they moved through the western passage, a distant sound reached their ears, the unmistakable scraping of footsteps. Elias froze. Isabella pressed a finger to her lips. "They are here," she whispered. "Prepare yourself." The passage opened into a chamber filled with ancient machinery, gears, levers, and pulleys, all rusted with age but still functional. At its center, a large stone door blocked further progress, adorned with more symbols matching the manuscript. Elias realized with a jolt that the door itself was a trap. A wrong move and it could seal them inside, or worse. Isabella examined the mechanism. "We must solve this puzzle precisely. Timing, precision, and knowledge of history will guide us." Together they worked, aligning symbols, moving levers in exact sequence, cross-referencing with the manuscript. The machinery groaned and rattled, metal scraping against stone. Dust fell like rain as the final lever clicked into place, and the massive door slowly swung open, revealing a passage leading upward, towards the city above. They stepped through, blinking as daylight filtered in. The city stretched out before them, its rooftops glistening with morning rain. Elias felt a momentary sense of relief, but it was short-lived. From the shadows of a nearby rooftop, a figure watched, silent and motionless. Elias caught a glimpse of a hooded cloak, the emblem of the shadowed order glinting faintly in the light. They had been followed. Isabella's eyes met his. "This was only the beginning," she said. "The order will not stop, and neither can we." Elias nodded, clutching the manuscript tightly. The journey had taken them deeper into history, into mystery, and into danger. Each clue revealed another layer of the puzzle, and each encounter reminded them that the city held secrets older and deadlier than they had imagined. Together, they disappeared into the streets, shadows among shadows, their minds focused on the path ahead and the trials yet to come. Chapter 5. The Betrayal of Trust. The city streets were quiet, almost deceptively so as Elias and Isabella made their way through the morning fog. The manuscript, now partially deciphered, pressed against Elias's chest as if reminding him of the weight of the secrets it held. Each alleyway, each stone arch, carried echoes of history and threats unseen. "Do you think we can trust Father Lucian?" Elias asked cautiously, glancing at Isabella. Isabella's eyes narrowed. "We have no choice. He has knowledge of the order and the relic that surpasses even our understanding. But remember, knowledge alone does not guarantee loyalty." Elias swallowed. The monk's help had seemed invaluable yesterday, guiding them through passages unknown to ordinary citizens. Yet, something about his calm demeanor and cryptic advice had unsettled him. As they approached the monastery on the outskirts of the city, the tall spires of Saint Vincent loomed through the mist. It was an imposing structure, centuries old, with ivy crawling across its stone walls and gargoyles perched above the entrances. Inside, Father Lucian waited, a thin smile on his lined face, seemingly calm despite the dangers surrounding them. "Welcome, Elias." "Isabella," he said, his voice soft yet commanding. "You have done well to survive the catacombs." "Father Lucien," Elias began, "we've deciphered part of the manuscript, but the order is closing in. We need your guidance, and quickly. The monk's eyes gleamed with a hint of something Elias couldn't place. Satisfaction. Perhaps amusement. Ah, yes, knowledge is power, but so is trust, he said, gesturing for them to follow him deeper into the monastery's ancient library. Rows of books lined the walls, dust motes dancing in the light filtering through stained glass. Isabella and Elias followed, their senses alert. Father Lucian approached a wooden cabinet, opening a drawer to reveal a bundle of parchment scrolls. These, he said, contain additional clues, maps, and histories of the Order. Use them wisely. Their secrets are dangerous but invaluable. Elias reached for one of the scrolls, eager to understand the next steps. But as he did, a subtle tension shifted in the room. Father Lucian's hand moved swiftly, not toward the scrolls, but to a hidden dagger at his waist. "Wait," Elias stammered. "What are you—" In an instant, the monk lunged toward him, eyes flashing with a ferocity that belied his calm exterior. Isabella reacted immediately, blocking the attack and pulling Elias back. "Father Lucian," she exclaimed, disbelief and anger in her voice. "Why?" The monk's face was unreadable. "You are naive to trust so easily," he said, his voice low, almost sorrowful. "The Order's secrets are not for the faint of heart, and the manuscript, its power, cannot fall into unworthy hands." Elias stumbled back, clutching the manuscript. "We've been allies. We trusted you, and that trust is precisely why you are vulnerable," Father Lucian replied. "I cannot allow you to proceed untested." Suddenly, a hidden panel in the library wall swung open, revealing cloaked figures, the shadowed Order, who had silently followed them. Elias realized the truth too late. Father Lucien had led them here, orchestrating the confrontation. "Lucien," Isabella whispered, her hand tightening on her dagger. "You've betrayed us!" The monk did not answer. Instead, he gestured, and the shadowed Order moved forward, encircling them. Elias's mind raced. They were outnumbered, trapped in a room that had once seemed a sanctuary. "Think, Elias," Isabella hissed. "There must be a way out." Elias's eyes scanned the library. He noticed a rope dangling from the balcony above, a potential escape route. "There," he shouted, pointing. "We can climb." Isabella grasped the rope, and Elias followed. The first few feet were tense. Each creak of the old wood echoed through the chamber. Below them, the Order advanced cautiously, uncertain of their next move. "Do you think you can outwit us?" Father Lucian called, his voice calm yet deadly. "This manuscript holds power beyond your comprehension. You cannot survive without yielding it." Elias felt a surge of determination. "We will survive, and we will uncover the truth," he said, hoisting himself higher. Suddenly, one of the Order members lunged, grabbing at Isabella's cloak. She twisted, breaking free, and dropped a small lantern onto the wooden floor below. The flames leapt instantly, smoke filling the chamber. Chaos erupted. Elias and Isabella climbed swiftly, the smoke and fire masking their movements. Father Lucian shouted orders, but the blaze forced the Order to retreat momentarily. At the top, a narrow balcony offered a precarious path along the monastery's exterior wall. The mist and morning fog concealed their presence, allowing them to move silently. Below, the Order regrouped, shouting commands, but the duo had already vanished into the labyrinthine streets of the city. Breathless and exhausted, Elias and Isabella found temporary refuge in a deserted alley. "I can't believe it," Elias said, shaking his head. "Lucien. He was supposed to help us. He betrayed us," Isabella said, her voice firm. "But we cannot linger on the past. The Order will be relentless. They now know we are serious contenders for the manuscript." Elias nodded, the weight of the betrayal settling heavily on his shoulders. Yet he felt a strange sense of clarity. Trust was precious, yes, but survival required vigilance, cunning, and courage. They pressed on, moving through the city's maze of alleys and hidden streets. The manuscript, heavy with secrets and dangers, guided them still. Each symbol, each riddle brought them closer to the relic, but also closer to those who would kill to claim it. As they paused near a small bridge spanning the river, Elias caught his breath and looked at Isabella. We've lost them. For now. She shook her head slightly, a shadow crossing her face. No, we've only delayed them. The Order has eyes everywhere. And Lucian. He is more dangerous than any of them. Elias shivered, feeling the enormity of their task. The manuscript was not just a key to history, it was a key to power, and power attracted betrayal, danger, and death. Then we move forward, he said, determination hardening his voice. We cannot stop now. Every step counts, Isabella nodded. Agreed. But we must be smarter, faster, and always 2 steps ahead. Lucienne will not forgive, and the Order will not rest. The next clue is critical. It may lead us to the heart of the city, or the edge of disaster. As they disappeared into the twisting streets, the sun broke through the morning fog, glinting on the rooftops and casting long shadows across the cobblestones. History, mystery, and danger intertwined, and Elias understood that the journey ahead would test not only their minds and bodies but their trust in each other, and in the fragile alliances they could forge. The city held its breath as the chase continued, and somewhere in the shadows, Father Lucian watched, calculating, patient, and ready to strike again. Elias tightened his grip on the manuscript. They had survived betrayal, but the war for its secrets was only beginning. Chapter 6. Secrets of the Lost Empire. The city was waking from its morning haze as Elias and Isabella made their way through the narrow, winding streets. The betrayal at Saint Vincent still weighed heavily on Elias, the memory of Father Lucien's cold eyes and sudden attack lingering in his mind. Yet they had survived, and now they needed answers more than ever. We need to understand what we're dealing with, Elias said, glancing at the manuscript. This relic. The Order, Lucien. I feel like we're chasing shadows without knowing the shape of them. Isabella nodded, her gaze scanning the rooftops as they passed beneath arches and over stone bridges. Knowledge is power, Elias, and power draws danger. That's why the relic was hidden. Its origins stretch back to an empire forgotten by history, a civilization that vanished without a trace, but left clues in places only the clever could find. Elias frowned. A lost empire? Yes, Isabella said. Its name is recorded in fragments, mythic almost. The Order calls it the Obscured Empire. It flourished centuries ago, mastering arts and knowledge far beyond the common scholars of their time. And the relic, the manuscript refers to it as the Heart of Eternity, was its most prized possession. Legends say it can influence nations, bring prosperity or ruin, depending on who wields it. Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. No wonder the Order is relentless. And Lucien, he must have some connection to it. Isabella's face darkened. Lucien is no ordinary monk. He has studied the Empire's secrets all his life. He believes he alone can decide who is worthy. But he underestimates us. They reached a secluded courtyard where a small tavern offered refuge. Inside, Isabella motioned for Elias to sit as she approached a table in the corner. They were careful, watchful of shadows, anticipating followers. I know a man, Isabella whispered, returning to the table. A historian who once worked with Lucien. He may help us understand the manuscript better. But he is cautious. He fears the Order. Elias nodded, trying to steady his nerves. We have no choice. We need every advantage. Within the hour, a thin, spectacled man joined them at the table. His eyes were sharp, scanning the room with an almost nervous intensity. "You're the ones pursuing the relic?" he asked. His voice was quick, almost breathless. "We are," Isabella said, her tone firm, "and we need your guidance." The man introduced himself as Gregor Armand, a scholar who had worked with Lucian decades ago. He spoke in hushed tones, glancing repeatedly toward the doorway. The Obscured Empire, Gregor began, leaning close, was hidden deliberately. Their greatest works were encoded into artifacts, manuscripts, and architecture. The Heart of Eternity was never a mere object. It was a repository of knowledge, power, and influence. Whoever controls it can reshape history itself. Elias's hands shook slightly. So the manuscript isn't just a map. It's instructions. More than that, Gregor said gravely. It's a key to understanding the Empire's knowledge and possibly unlocking abilities or technologies that were centuries ahead of their time. That is why the Order guards it so zealously, and that is why Lucian betrayed you. He believes the knowledge should only be wielded by those he deems worthy. Isabella's eyes narrowed. We cannot let him control it. And we cannot let the Order claim it either. Gregor hesitated. There is more. Lucian's father was a member of the Order. He taught Lucian the ways of the organization before he rejected them, believing the relic was too dangerous. Lucian's obsession stems from both a desire for power and a personal vendetta against those who opposed his father. Elias felt the enormity of it all. So the Order isn't just protecting history. They are enforcing their version of who can wield it? Yes, Gregor said. And the manuscript is designed to test those who seek it. Every puzzle, every trap, every symbol, it was meant to filter the unworthy. Lucien passed the test in his youth, but he never learned humility. You must pass it differently, with courage, intelligence, and trust. Elias took a deep breath, absorbing the weight of Gregor's words. Trust. He had learned the hard way that trust was fragile, often betrayed. Yet, without it, survival and success would be impossible. Your next step, Gregor continued, is to follow the manuscript to the Temple of Shadows. It lies beneath the old city quarter, hidden beneath structures the Order assumes are abandoned. But beware, the Order will anticipate your path. Lucien may already be one step ahead. Isabella looked at Elias. We move at night. We use the streets and tunnels we already know. We cannot afford mistakes. Elias nodded, determination hardening in his chest. We've come this far. Whatever it takes, we will continue. Gregor leaned closer. One more thing. The manuscript contains warnings you may not yet understand. Symbols can be literal or metaphorical. Not every trap is physical. Some will test your mind, your morality, your choices. You must discern carefully. The weight of responsibility pressed upon Elias. The manuscript was more than a relic. It was a crucible, testing their resolve, intelligence, and character. Mistakes could cost them their lives, or worse. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elias and Isabella prepared to leave the tavern. The city's streets grew darker, shadows lengthening in the evening light. Every alley, every corner was a potential danger. We move soon, Isabella said, her voice low but firm. The Temple of Shadows waits, and with it, the next clue and the next trial. Elias adjusted the manuscript in his satchel. He felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. The journey had brought them through betrayal, traps, and close encounters. Now, they were about to step into the heart of history and danger, guided by cryptic symbols and ancient secrets. Somewhere in the city, Lucian watched. Somewhere, the Order plotted. And somewhere, the legacy of the obscured empire waited to reveal itself to those who could endure the trials ahead. Elias and Isabella moved through the alleys, shadows among shadows, hearts steady, minds sharp, ready to face the perils that awaited them beneath the city's stones. The manuscript pulsed faintly, as if alive, as if aware that its secrets were one step closer to being unveiled. And with each step, the weight of history, and the danger of those who would wield it for their own ends, pressed ever closer. The night stretched ahead, long and fraught with uncertainty, but Elias knew one thing: they could not turn back. Not now, not ever. Chapter 7. The Temple of Shadows night had fallen over the city, wrapping its narrow streets and tall spires in a cloak of mist and darkness. Elias clutched the manuscript tightly, feeling the familiar weight of its secrets pressing against his chest. Beside him, Isabella moved with quiet precision, every step measured, every shadow scanned for threats. The betrayal by Father Lucian still lingered in Elias's mind, a shadow of distrust that refused to lift. Yet the path forward was clear. The Temple of Shadows awaited, hidden beneath the oldest quarter of the city. The map indicates the entrance should be just ahead, Isabella whispered. stopping before a crumbling, ivy-covered archway. If we're correct, this courtyard has been abandoned for decades. The Order will not expect us here. Elias nodded, though unease tightened his chest. And if they do? Isabella's eyes darkened. Then we rely on speed, wits, and the manuscript. It has guided us this far. Trust it, and trust me. The archway opened into a courtyard dominated by a circular stone structure, its walls etched with weathered symbols matching those in the manuscript. At the center lay a mosaic, faint but intricate, depicting scenes of warriors, scholars, and mysterious objects. The air smelled of earth and damp stone, carrying the faintest hint of incense long extinguished. Elias knelt, studying the mosaic. These symbols, they correspond to the manuscript's last deciphered coordinates. We're on the right path. Isabella crouched beside him. But the manuscript warns that this temple tests not only knowledge but morality. There may be traps, mechanical, mental, even symbolic. Elias traced the mosaic with his finger, noting subtle depressions in the stones. This floor, it feels uneven. Perhaps some stones are pressure-activated. Isabella's gaze swept the courtyard. Then we proceed carefully. One wrong step, and we could trigger a trap. They began moving cautiously, following the manuscript's guidance. Each step required careful alignment of symbols, subtle adjustments to carved stones, and precise timing. The courtyard seemed deceptively simple, yet every detail demanded attention. Suddenly, a low grinding noise echoed from beneath the stone floor. Elias froze. "Is that?" "Yes," Isabella whispered. "A mechanism. One misstep, and we could be trapped, or worse." The mosaic shifted subtly, revealing a hidden staircase descending into darkness. Lanterns had long since been extinguished, leaving only the faint glow of the manuscript's symbols to guide them. Elias swallowed hard and followed Isabella into the abyss, the cold stone walls closing around them. The passage twisted downward, damp and narrow. Water dripped from the ceiling, pooling in shallow puddles on the floor. Each step echoed ominously, magnifying the tension that gripped Elias's chest. At last, they emerged into a vast chamber, its vaulted ceiling lost in shadows. The air was thick and still, and the faint hum of an unseen mechanism vibrated through the stone. At the center of the chamber stood a massive door, covered in cryptic symbols and interlocking gears. "This is it," Isabella said. "The first trial inside the temple. The manuscript indicates the door will open only when the symbols are aligned correctly, and only those who understand their meaning will survive." Elias approached, tracing the symbols with trembling fingers. "It's a puzzle. Geometry, history, and logic combined. Every symbol represents a principle, an event, or a value." Isabella studied the door carefully. "And some symbols are red herrings. The Order would design it to mislead, to weed out the unworthy." Elias nodded, focusing intently. Slowly, he began aligning the symbols, cross-referencing with the manuscript's notes. Each rotation of a gear produced a soft click, echoing through the chamber. Isabella assisted, interpreting the subtler symbols and guiding him through the sequence. Minutes stretched into tense hours, and every sound of the chamber, the creak of stone, the drip of water, felt amplified. Then, a faint hiss followed by a metallic click signaled partial success. A section of the door shifted, revealing another smaller compartment containing an intricately carved medallion. Elias held it up, awe and fear mingling in his chest. This must be part of the next clue. Isabella examined it carefully. Yes, the medallion bears the emblem of the obscured empire. It will guide us to the final chamber, but the Order will know we have it. Before they could continue, a sound echoed through the chamber. Footsteps, deliberate and precise. Elias's heart pounded. The Shadowed Order had found them again. "They are close," Isabella said, her voice steady. "We must move, and fast." They navigated a series of narrow passages branching off from the chamber, each corridor lined with more symbols and subtle traps. Pressure plates, Hidden spikes and collapsing stone sections forced them to move with extreme caution. The medallion's symbols glowed faintly, guiding them along the safest path. Elias glanced at Isabella. "Do you think Lucian is here?" She shook her head. "Perhaps. But more likely, the Order sent scouts to delay or eliminate us. Whoever controls the temple's inner chambers controls the relic." The passages opened into a circular chamber dominated by a massive stone pedestal, upon which rested a small, ornately decorated chest. Its surface was engraved with symbols that pulsed faintly, reacting to the medallion in Elias's hand. "The final chamber," Isabella whispered. The manuscript warned that this chest contains both the key and the greatest test. Elias approached carefully. He aligned the medallion symbols with those on the chest, the gears and levers within the pedestal clicking into place. The chest vibrated, and a low hum filled the room. Suddenly, shadows flickered along the walls. From the hidden passages emerged cloaked figures, the shadowed Order. Their presence was immediate, a physical reminder of the danger that had shadowed them since the manuscript's discovery. Elias froze. "We're trapped." Isabella's eyes narrowed. "Not yet. Follow my lead." With precision born of countless close calls, they activated the chest's final mechanism. A compartment opened, revealing a small crystalline object, the next fragment of the relic, shimmering with faint light. Elias reached for it, and the chamber rumbled. Stone shifted, panels swung open, and the Order advanced. "Move!" Isabella shouted, grabbing his arm. They ducked behind a column as daggers and projectiles clanged against the stone. Elias could feel the heat of fear and adrenaline, the pulse of danger in every step. They sprinted through the passages, guided by the medallion's light, dodging traps and enemies alike. The Order was relentless, moving like shadows, cutting off escape routes and forcing them into the chamber's deeper recesses. Finally, they reached a narrow vertical shaft, the manuscript's symbols marking a safe route upward. Elias climbed, Isabella close behind. The Order attempted pursuit, but the narrowness of the shaft slowed them. From above, the city's night air and distant lanterns offered hope. Emerging onto the rooftops, Elias gasped for breath. The city stretched beneath them, dark and labyrinthine, yet alive with secrets. Below, the shadowed Order regrouped, frustrated but persistent. Isabella looked at Elias, her face illuminated by moonlight. "This temple has tested our minds, our courage, and our trust. But the trials are far from over. Lucian and the Order will escalate their efforts. We must be ready." Elias nodded, the medallion in his hand glowing faintly. He felt the weight of history, the danger surrounding them, and the responsibility of the knowledge they were pursuing. The obscured empire had left its mark, not only in the manuscript but in the very city around them, and its secrets demanded courage, intelligence, and determination. The rooftop wind carried a chilling reminder. Somewhere, in the shadows, enemies watched, calculating and waiting. And beneath the city, the temple's hidden chambers still held mysteries yet to be revealed. Elias tightened his grip on the manuscript. "We move forward," he said, determination hardening his voice. "We cannot stop." "Not now," Isabella nodded, agreed. "The next fragment awaits, and the path to the heart of eternity is closer than ever. But danger grows with every step." The night deepened, shadows stretching across rooftops and alleys, carrying whispers of history, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. Elias and Isabella, guided by the manuscript and their courage, pressed on, ready to face the trials that the Temple of Shadows and the Order still had in store. Chapter 8. The Hidden Cathedral. The moon hung low over the city, casting silver light across the rooftops as Elias and Isabella moved swiftly. The medallion's faint glow guided their path, illuminating symbols in the shadows that only they could see. Each step was calculated, yet every corner, every alley whispered of unseen dangers. The Temple of Shadows had tested their minds, but now their endurance and trust would be tested in ways neither could anticipate. "We need to reach the hidden cathedral," Isabella said, her voice low but urgent. "It is the only place that contains the next fragment's location. If the Order anticipates our moves, we may face a direct ambush." Elias nodded, gripping the manuscript tightly. "Then we move carefully. We cannot afford mistakes." The cathedral, obscured by centuries of overgrowth and forgotten streets, stood as a relic of a bygone era. Its once majestic spires were fractured, windows cracked, and ivy coiled along its stone walls. Yet, beneath the decay, a presence lingered, a weight of history and a sense of secrets long hidden. As they approached the cathedral, Isabella paused. "You must understand something, Elias. I have a past connected to the Order, and to this place. My family protected these secrets for generations, long before I was born." Elias looked at her, surprise and curiosity mingling in his expression. "Your family?" "Yes," she said. Her eyes, dark and unwavering, met his. "I was trained to navigate these relics, to understand the manuscripts, but I swore never to wield the power for personal gain. The Order, they twisted what I was taught. They became what I had been trained to oppose." Elias processed her words, realizing the weight of her history. "Then you've been preparing for this moment all your life?" "In part," she admitted. "But knowing the manuscripts is not enough. One must also survive the Order's traps, their deception, and their ruthlessness." The cathedral doors loomed ahead, massive and imposing. Isabella pushed them open carefully, revealing a long nave shrouded in darkness. Moonlight streamed through fractured stained glass, casting fractured colors across the dusty floor. Rows of pews were overturned, relics of a congregation long gone. At the far end, a raised altar glimmered faintly, an aura that seemed to resonate with the medallion in Elias's hand. "Stay alert," Isabella warned. The Order could be waiting inside. They moved silently along the nave, the medallion guiding them toward the altar. Every step echoed lightly, shadows twisting along the walls. Elias's heart pounded. He knew from experience that ambushes could strike at any moment, and the cathedral's decayed grandeur provided perfect cover. As they neared the altar, a sudden noise, soft, deliberate footsteps, echoed from the side aisles. Figures emerged from the shadows, cloaked agents of the shadowed Order, their eyes gleaming with purpose. "They anticipated us," Elias whispered, tension tightening his chest. Isabella's gaze hardened. "Then we fight." The Order moved with precise coordination, cutting off their retreat. Elias drew a small iron rod he had carried since the Temple of Shadows, while Isabella's dagger gleamed in the moonlight. The first clash was sudden and brutal, the sound of metal striking stone reverberating through the cathedral. Elias blocked a swing from an assailant, countering instinctively. The manuscript's puzzles had taught him caution, but battle demanded instinct. Isabella moved with deadly efficiency, her movements precise and fluid, neutralizing opponents with a combination of agility and strategy. "Keep moving toward the altar," Isabella shouted over the clash. Elias dodged, parried, and finally reached the base of the altar. The medallion pulsed brighter, as if responding to their proximity. With trembling hands, he placed it on a carved indentation at the center. The altar vibrated, revealing a hidden compartment beneath its surface. Inside lay a small crystal sphere, glowing faintly with an inner light. Elias lifted it carefully, feeling the energy pulse through his fingers. "This is it," he whispered. Another fragment, but the battle was not over. From the shadows, Father Lucian emerged, his cloak flowing, eyes blazing with cold intensity. "Impressive," he said, voice echoing through the chamber. "But you still do not understand the true power you seek. Hand over the manuscript and the medallion, and perhaps I will spare your lives." Elias felt a surge of fear and determination. "We will never give it to you, Lucian. Your obsession has already caused too much destruction." Lucien's lips twisted in a cold smile. "Then you leave me no choice." He moved with unnerving speed, joining the Order agents to block any escape. The cathedral became a battlefield once more, shadows twisting with every movement. Elias and Isabella fought side by side, their trust now absolute. each anticipating the other's actions. Amid the chaos, Isabella noticed a series of levers along the altar's base, partially hidden under debris. Elias, the levers, they correspond to the manuscripts. Help me align them. Elias ducked under a swing from an order agent rushing to assist. Together, they moved the levers in precise sequence, following the symbol's instructions. With a grinding roar, the altar shifted, revealing a hidden tunnel beneath the cathedral. "Now!" Isabella shouted. They dove into the opening, narrowly avoiding a falling stone trap. The order's shouts echoed behind them, but the passageway offered the only escape. Inside the tunnel, the air was damp and heavy, but it provided the first sense of safety in hours. Elias clutched the crystal sphere, feeling its faint energy. "We did it. For now." Isabella pressed a hand to his shoulder. "Yes, but the order will not relent. Lucian will not rest until he claims the manuscript and the relic. And now, they will strike harder." Elias swallowed, understanding the gravity of their journey. The fragments they had collected were only pieces of a larger puzzle, the heart of eternity. Each step brought them closer to unimaginable knowledge and unparalleled danger. As they moved deeper into the tunnel, Isabella glanced back, shadows flickering along the entrance. "We need allies, Elias, people who understand the history, the order, and the relic. We cannot face them alone forever." Elias nodded. "Then we find them. We prepare. And we finish what we started." The tunnel opened onto a hidden exit leading into the quiet outskirts of the city. Above them, the night sky was clear, stars glimmering like distant beacons. The city below remained unaware of the storm brewing in its shadows, the relentless pursuit, the ancient secrets, and the war for the manuscript and the relic. Elias and Isabella stepped into the night, crystal sphere in hand, minds sharpened and resolve unbroken. The cathedral had tested them, physically, mentally, and morally, but it had also strengthened their bond. They were no longer merely seekers of knowledge. They were guardians of history, aware that their actions would shape the fate of the relic, and perhaps the world. Somewhere in the darkness, Father Lucian plotted, and the shadowed order gathered strength. Yet Elias and Isabella, guided by courage, intellect, and trust, pressed onward, ready to face the trials and revelations that lay ahead. The journey continued, the stakes higher than ever, and the secrets of the obscured empire closer to being unveiled, but never without peril. Chapter 9. The Archives of Time. The night air was thick with anticipation as Elias and Isabella emerged from the hidden tunnel behind the cathedral. The streets of the old city were quiet, save for the distant toll of a bell echoing across rooftops. The fragments they had recovered pulsed faintly in Elias's hands, a constant reminder that the journey was far from over. Each piece brought them closer to the heart of eternity, but also closer to danger. "We need to reach the archives," Isabella said, scanning the rooftops for any sign of pursuit. "If the manuscripts and fragments are to be understood fully, their history must be cross-referenced. The obscured empire left records here, hidden, encrypted, and scattered. Only in the archives can we piece together the next clue." Elias nodded. "And I take it Lucienne is likely waiting somewhere along the path." She gave a grim smile. "He always waits. Patience and calculation are his weapons. We must anticipate him and act quickly." The Archives of Time were hidden beneath the city's library, a grand structure abandoned for decades yet meticulously preserved. The entrance was subtle, disguised by weathered stones and overgrown vines. Isabella guided Elias to a narrow stairway descending beneath the building, the medallion in his hand illuminating the path with a gentle glow. Inside, the archives were silent and immense. Rows upon rows of ancient scrolls, tomes, and manuscripts filled the dimly lit chamber. Dust hung in the air, disturbed only by their careful footsteps. The faint scent of parchment and ink mingled with damp stone, carrying the weight of centuries. "This place," Elias whispered, awe in his voice. "It's incredible. The obscured empire's knowledge. All here, hidden for centuries." "Yes," Isabella said. "And dangerous. The Order would kill to protect it or claim it." Every manuscript could hold traps or warnings. We must proceed carefully. They moved along the aisles, the manuscript guiding them toward the section containing records of the Empire's relics. Elias traced his fingers over the spines of old books, following the symbols that matched those in the manuscript. Each step was deliberate, every breath measured. Suddenly, a whisper echoed through the chamber, too faint to be human. Elias froze. "Did you hear that?" Isabella's eyes narrowed. "Lucienne." Before Elias could react, shadows flickered along the walls. Figures emerged from hidden alcoves, agents of the Shadowed Order. Lucienne stepped forward, his eyes gleaming in the lantern light, a calculated calm on his face. "You've done well to reach this point," Lucian said, his voice echoing. "But knowledge is dangerous in inexperienced hands. Hand over the manuscript and fragments, and perhaps you will survive." Elias stepped forward, his heart racing. "We will never give it to you. The knowledge belongs to those who respect it, not those who seek power." Lucien's lips curved into a cold smile. "Then you leave me no choice." The order advanced. Elias and Isabella had little time to react. Isabella signaled, and they darted between shelves of ancient texts, using the labyrinthine aisles to evade their pursuers. Yet the order was relentless, their movements precise, anticipating every maneuver. Isabella's gaze fell on a massive book resting on a lectern. "Elias! That tome. Its cover matches the manuscript's symbols. It may reveal the archive's exit route, or a hidden mechanism." Elias rushed to her side, tracing the symbols on the leather-bound cover. He found a series of levers hidden along the lectern's edges. "If we align these correctly, we can open a passage," he whispered. Working quickly, they adjusted the levers according to the manuscript's instructions. A low rumble echoed through the chamber as the floor shifted, revealing a hidden stairway descending further into the archive's depths. "Go!" Isabella urged. They slipped into the stairway just as the order closed in, the clatter of footsteps echoing above. The passage led to a subterranean chamber lined with ancient artifacts and scrolls. Here, the air was colder, heavier, as if history itself weighed upon them. At the chamber's center lay a pedestal, upon which rested an intricately carved relic fragment, glimmering faintly in the medallion's light. Elias approached cautiously, feeling a sense of awe and trepidation. This is it, the next fragment. As he reached for it, a sharp click resonated through the chamber. The floor beneath them shifted, revealing a hidden pit lined with spikes and ancient mechanisms. Lucien's voice echoed from above. "Clever, but predictable. One false move and your journey ends here." Elias froze. "It's a trap!" Isabella grabbed his arm. "We must be precise. The manuscript indicates the sequence to disable it." Together, they worked quickly, aligning the medallion symbols with the carvings on the pedestal. Metal gears ground and panels shifted. The pit closed just as the order attempted to pursue them, blocking the path. Elias lifted the fragment, feeling its faint energy pulse through his hands. "We have it," he whispered. "Good," Isabella said, her voice firm but calm. "But Lucienne will not give up. This is only a temporary victory." They moved deeper into the chamber, discovering additional scrolls and tomes detailing the history of the obscured empire. The records revealed that the empire had created a network of hidden archives, each containing fragments of knowledge and power, designed to test those who sought them. "The heart of eternity," Isabella said, tracing the text with her fingers, "was not meant to be found easily. Each fragment requires intellect, courage, and moral judgment. The Order and Lucian have failed to understand the manuscript's true purpose. They seek power, not knowledge." Elias nodded, absorbing the weight of her words. "Then we must succeed, not just for us, but for the preservation of history itself." As they prepared to leave the chamber, the archives trembled slightly. Lucien's voice echoed once more, cold and deliberate. "You may escape tonight, but the next trial will test you in ways you cannot imagine. The manuscripts demand respect, or death." Elias and Isabella moved cautiously through the archive's hidden passages, emerging once more into the quiet streets above. The city seemed peaceful, unaware of the deadly games unfolding beneath its foundations. "We need allies," Isabella said, glancing at Elias. "Knowledge alone will not save us. The Order grows stronger, and Lucien will not relent. We must gather those who understand the history, the manuscripts, and the relics." Elias nodded. "Then we find them. We prepare, and we continue the journey." The night sky stretched above, stars twinkling faintly. The manuscripts pulsed in Elias's hands, fragments of a story, a power, and a history waiting to be fully revealed. The path ahead was dangerous, filled with traps, betrayal, and relentless pursuit. But Elias and Isabella pressed on, determined to face whatever the Shadowed Order and Father Lucian had in store. The archives had revealed part of the Obscured Empire's secrets, and the true test of courage, intellect, and trust was only just beginning. Chapter 10. Confrontation in the Catacombs. The early dawn mist settled over the city, blurring the outlines of rooftops and winding streets. Elias and Isabella moved swiftly, the crystal sphere fragment pulsing faintly in Elias's hands. Each step they took was measured, but the weight of anticipation pressed upon them, the knowledge that Lucian was aware of their progress, and that a confrontation was inevitable. "We need to be ready," Isabella said, her voice steady despite the tension. "The manuscripts indicate a hidden set of catacombs beneath the city's oldest quarter. If Lucien wishes to intercept us, this is where he will act." Elias nodded, clutching the medallion. "Then we confront him, here, on our terms, if we can." The entrance to the catacombs was a weathered stone arch, half buried by centuries of dust and debris. Isabella led the way, lantern held high, while Elias followed closely, every shadow a potential threat. The air grew colder and damp, filled with the faint scent of earth and ancient stone. At the base of the stairs, they paused. "Lucien will know we are coming," Isabella whispered. "Expect traps, expect ambushes, but also expect deception. He will try to manipulate us. Fear, doubt, anything to turn us against each other." Elias swallowed, feeling a chill despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "Then we remain focused. Trust each other. That's our advantage." The first chamber of the catacombs was lined with stone pillars carved with cryptic symbols, some matching the manuscripts, others foreign and unsettling. Shadows danced along the walls as their lanterns flickered. The atmosphere was thick with the weight of history, the kind that seemed to press upon the chest and bend the mind. Suddenly, the floor beneath them shifted with a grinding sound. A section of the chamber descended slightly, revealing a narrow pit lined with jagged spikes. Elias's heart leapt. "A trap," Isabella said calmly. "The manuscript shows a sequence of pressure points. One misstep, and we fall." They moved carefully, testing each stone before stepping, following the manuscript's instructions with meticulous precision. Each click of stone against stone echoed ominously, a reminder that failure would mean death. At last, they reached a central chamber, dominated by a massive stone altar. The walls were etched with scenes of the Obscured Empire, depicting scholars, warriors, and relics of unimaginable power. At the center, a pedestal glimmered faintly, as if the light of the morning sun had been trapped beneath the stone. Lucien stepped from the shadows, his cloak flowing, eyes cold and calculating. "I must admit," he said, voice echoing, "your perseverance is impressive. But you underestimate the power you are dealing with. Step aside, and I may yet allow you to leave alive." Elias stepped forward, holding the medallion tightly. "We cannot allow you to take it, Lucian. Your obsession has already caused too much pain. The knowledge belongs to those who respect it, not those who seek power." Lucian's smile was cold, almost cruel. "Power and knowledge are intertwined. You would not survive what comes next." Without warning, the room shifted. Walls slid into new positions, pillars rotated, and hidden blades emerged from the floor. The chamber had transformed into a deadly labyrinth, each move demanding precision, courage, and intellect. Isabella grabbed Elias's arm. "We move together. Follow the manuscript's guidance. Every symbol matters." They navigated the shifting labyrinth, dodging blades, stepping only on safe stones, and avoiding pressure plates. Each trap seemed designed not just to kill but to test their judgment, their focus, and their trust in each other. From above, Lucian watched, orchestrating the chamber like a master conductor. "They may survive the first trial," he muttered, "but the final test will reveal their weakness." Elias and Isabella reached the pedestal, breathing heavily. The medallion pulsed brighter, resonating with the carved symbols on the stone. Elias placed it carefully in an indentation, feeling the vibrations travel through the chamber. The altar opened, revealing a crystalline fragment, the next piece of the heart of eternity. Its light bathed the chamber, illuminating the intricate carvings and revealing a hidden staircase descending further into darkness. Before they could move, Lucian emerged from behind a rotating pillar. "You think you have succeeded?" he demanded, his voice cold. "The final trial is mine to decide." He triggered a mechanism in the floor. The ground beneath them began to collapse, revealing a deep pit lined with jagged spikes. Elias and Isabella barely leapt aside, their hearts racing. "You underestimate the manuscript," Isabella shouted, grabbing Elias's arm. "The solution is here. It's the sequence." They worked quickly, aligning the symbols on the pedestal, moving levers, and following the precise instructions of the manuscript. The pit closed just as Lucian lunged toward them, blocking their retreat. Elias raised the medallion, and the light pulsed, striking the walls. A hidden door swung open behind Lucian, forcing him to step back, caught off guard. The Order's agents, following him, hesitated, an opening they could exploit. "Now!" Isabella shouted. They darted through the hidden passage, Lucien's furious shout echoing behind them. The staircase led to a cavern below, filled with the echo of dripping water and the faint glow of the fragments. Elias placed the crystal fragment carefully into his satchel. "We did it. For now," he whispered. Isabella nodded, her eyes scanning the cavern for danger. "But Lucian will not relent, and the Order will escalate their pursuit. This fragment brings us closer to the heart of eternity, but also closer to their wrath." They pressed forward through the cavern, the medallion's glow guiding them deeper. The manuscripts pulsed faintly, as if aware that the final trials were approaching, that history itself awaited their judgment. Above, the city remained oblivious to the struggle unfolding beneath its streets. The catacombs held secrets older than the oldest structures above, their stone walls whispering of ancient knowledge, of power and responsibility, and of dangers yet unseen. Elias's grip on the medallion tightened. "We cannot stop, not now. Every fragment, every clue, it's all leading to the heart of eternity." Isabella's hand rested lightly on his shoulder, "and we will face it together. The trials ahead will test us more than ever, but our trust, courage, and intellect will guide us. Lucian may be formidable, but we are not powerless." The light from the crystal fragments illuminated the cavern as they moved forward, shadows dancing along the stone walls. The manuscripts pulsed faintly, guiding them toward the next chamber, the next puzzle, the next test of courage, intellect, and morality. Somewhere in the catacombs above, Lucien regrouped, his fury uncontained. The shadowed Order followed, relentless and calculating. Yet Elias and Isabella pressed onward, determined to uncover the secrets of the obscured empire and claim the heart of eternity before it fell into the wrong hands. The journey had reached a new height of danger, and the first major confrontation with Lucien had only strengthened their resolve. Chapter 11. Shadows. Above ground, dawn was breaking as Elias and Isabella emerged from the labyrinthine catacombs. The morning fog clung to the cobblestones, softening the city's outlines and masking their movements. The fragments they carried pulsed faintly, resonating with one another as if acknowledging their proximity to the heart of eternity. "We need to find the full map," Isabella said, her eyes scanning the streets. The manuscripts hint that the fragments can reveal a complete map only when assembled in sequence. That map will show the location of the final chamber. Elias nodded, adjusting the satchel containing the medallion and the crystalline fragments. Then we start here. Somewhere above ground, the manuscripts indicate a vantage point, a place to align the fragments and decipher the next step. They navigated the city carefully, avoiding main roads where merchants and early risers might notice unusual activity. Each alley was a potential path and a potential trap. Elias felt the weight of responsibility pressing upon him. The fragments were not just keys to the past, they were catalysts for power, and power invited danger. They reached an abandoned watchtower at the edge of the old city quarter. Its stone walls were crumbling, but the spiral staircase within remained intact. Isabella led the ascent, each step careful, the medallion's faint glow illuminating the worn stone. At the top, a circular platform offered a panoramic view of the city below. Isabella laid out the fragments, aligning them according to the manuscript's instructions. The crystal pieces pulsed, and faint symbols appeared on the stone platform, forming a luminous map that stretched across the surface. Elias traced the glowing symbols with his finger. This shows the location, the path to the heart of eternity. But it's intricate. Multiple layers, secret passages, traps. Yes, Isabella said. But we have the sequence now. The manuscripts confirm it. If we follow this, we can reach the final chamber, assuming Lucian does not anticipate our move. Her words hung in the cold morning air. Elias felt a chill, not from the wind, but from the awareness that they were being watched. He glanced toward the city streets below. A shadow shifted along the rooftops. Elias, Isabella whispered, her eyes narrowing. We're not alone. From the opposite tower, a figure emerged, Gregor Armand, the scholar who had guided them earlier. But something was off. His calm demeanor had shifted, replaced with a tension that didn't belong. Gregor, Elias called out. You followed us? Gregor's expression was unreadable. I've changed my mind about your mission, he said, voice low. Lucien offered insight, guidance, and I've decided that the Order may be the only way to safeguard the relic. You cannot comprehend the danger fully. Elias felt a shock ripple through him. You're betraying us? After everything? Isabella's hand instinctively went to her dagger. Explain yourself. Gregor took a step forward, eyes unwavering. I've studied the manuscripts, the Empire, the fragments, and I've seen what happens to those who wield knowledge without restraint. Lucien is right. This relic cannot be left to amateurs. You may survive the journey, but what you bring to the heart of eternity could bring catastrophe. Elias's mind raced. The betrayal was unexpected, cutting deeper than the Shadowed Order's ambushes. Trust, he realized, was a weapon, sometimes wielded against those who placed it too easily. Then we have no choice, Isabella said firmly. We fight, for the relic, for the manuscripts, and for history itself. Before Elias could respond, Gregor lunged with surprising agility, trying to seize one of the fragments. Elias blocked, the medallion glowing in his hands. A tense struggle ensued, the fragments nearly falling from the platform. Elias, the map! Isabella shouted, dodging Gregor's strikes. We cannot let him disrupt the sequence. Elias shifted, aligning the fragments while keeping Gregor at bay. The map pulsed more brightly, responding to the correct sequence, and for a moment, the platform beneath them seemed to stabilize. But the struggle was far from over. From below, shadows began to move. Agents of the Shadowed Order had spotted the disturbance and were climbing the towers, intent on claiming the fragments. We are surrounded, Elias said grimly, blocking another swing from Gregor. Then we leave the map intact and retreat. Isabella shouted. She grabbed Elias's arm, pulling him toward a narrow ledge that circled the tower. They balanced carefully along the stone edge as agents emerged from the stairs below. Gregor followed, leaping onto the ledge with alarming agility. You cannot escape me, he growled. I only want to prevent disaster. Elias countered, using his momentum to force Gregor toward the platform. The scholar faltered, allowing Isabella to push him back. He barely regained his footing, glaring at them with a mix of frustration and resolve. "Enough," Elias shouted. "We're not surrendering. You will not control the relic." The ledge narrowed, and below them the Order's agents advanced. Elias and Isabella realized that the only way forward was to jump to an adjacent tower, where the path continued to the next location indicated by the map. "On my signal," Isabella said. "We jump together, trust me." Elias nodded. The two timed their leap, vaulting from the ledge with the medallion and fragments secured. The distance was perilous, but their trust and coordination saw them safely land on the next tower. Gregor, enraged and desperate, did not follow immediately, giving them precious moments to continue their ascent. Breathless but resolute, they reached a hidden platform halfway up the new tower. The fragments glowed faintly, indicating the next stage of their journey. Elias traced the illuminated map. "This shows the final chamber, the resting place of the heart of eternity." "We're close, but Lucien will be waiting." Isabella's hand rested lightly on his shoulder. "Yes, and now we know. Our allies are not guaranteed. Every step from here will test our courage, intelligence, and trust. The path to the heart of eternity is fraught with danger, but we have each other, and the manuscripts guide us." Elias nodded, determination hardening his resolve. "Then we continue. No matter what stands in our way, we press on." The city below was awakening, oblivious to the deadly pursuit unfolding above. The towers and rooftops stretched before them, each step a precarious balance between survival and catastrophe. The manuscripts pulsed with anticipation, guiding them toward the next trial and toward the ultimate confrontation with Lucian and the Shadowed Order. Above ground, shadows shifted, alliances fractured, and the true nature of the Heart of Eternity remained shrouded in mystery. But Elias and Isabella pressed forward, fragments secured, resolve unbroken, ready to face whatever awaited them at the end of the perilous path. The chase continued, the stakes higher than ever, and the final trials of intellect. Courage and trust loomed on the horizon.